This movie made both Japanese nationalists and anti-war activists absolutely furious. That buried beneath all that controversy is the most devastating, beautiful, and painfully human love story Miyazaki ever created. A story about dreams, about obsession, about loving something so much that it destroys everything around you. Today, we're diving deep into The Wind Rises, and trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to see this film and maybe your own dreams completely differently. So grab some tissues, you're gonna need them, and somehow, it's one of the most emotionally devastating films ever made. The Wind Rises is based on, and I'm using based on very loosely, here the life of Jiro Horikoshi, the real engineer who designed the Mitsubishi A6M0. You know, the fighter plane that Japan used in World War II. The one that was used in the attack on Pearl Harbor. Yeah, that plane. But here's where it gets interesting. Miyazaki didn't just make a biopic. He mixed Horikoshi's story with a 1937 novel called The Wind Has Risen by Tatsuo Hori, which is this tragic love story about a man whose fiancée has tuberculosis. So what we get is this beautiful, complicated mess of dreams, love, war, death, and the question that haunts every creative person who's ever lived. What happens when the thing you create is used for evil? Our story starts with little Jiro Horikoshi, and my God, was this kid adorable. Picture this, young Jiro, probably like 10 years old, climbing onto his roof in the middle of the night because he read about airplanes in a magazine. This kid is basically every engineering nerd who ever lived. He's got the round glasses, the intense stare, the complete inability to understand why everyone isn't as obsessed with planes as he is. And he has this dream. Literally, he falls asleep and dreams of flying this beautiful plane over his village. The wind in his hair, the clouds beneath him, absolute freedom. And then he meets Giovanni Caproni. Now Caproni was a real Italian aircraft designer, and in Jiro's dreams, he becomes this mentor figure. They share these dreamscapes where beautiful planes soar through the sky, and Caproni tells young Jiro something that will echo through his entire life. Airplanes are beautiful dreams, but there's a problem. Jiro is nearsighted. Like really nearsighted. He can't be a pilot. His dream of flying, physically impossible. And here's where Caproni drops wisdom that hits different. When you're an adult, you can still design planes, he says. Artists are not limited by their own limitations. And just like that, Jiro's dream shifts. He can't fly the planes, but he can create them. Which, honestly, peak engineer energy. I can't do the fun thing, so I'll do the complicated thing that makes the fun thing possible. This kid was born to be an aerospace engineer. Now, we fast forward a few years. Jiro is a young man heading to Tokyo to study engineering. He's on a train, reading a book about German aircraft design because of course, he is when he notices a girl. Her name is Nahoko, and she's traveling with her maid. And look, this isn't some dramatic love at first sight moment with fireworks and orchestral swells. It's subtle, it's quiet, they barely talk, but there's something there, a spark, and then everything goes wrong. The Great Kanto earthquake of 1923 hits. And guys, I need you to understand something. This earthquake was one of the deadliest natural disasters in Japanese history. Over 100,000 people died. Cities were leveled. Fires burned for days, and Miyazaki doesn't hold back. The animation in this sequence is terrifying. The ground literally ripples like water. Buildings collapse like they're made of paper. People are screaming, running, falling. Jiro finds Nahoko's maid with a broken leg, and without hesitation, he carries her through the chaos to safety. He helps them escape the fires, makes a splint from his slide rule, his most precious engineering tool, land. Then he just walks away. No dramatic confession, no exchange of addresses, just a young man doing what's right and disappearing into the smoke. This man literally saved their lives, used his prized possession as medical equipment, and then was like, okay, bye, without even telling them his name. Engineers, am I right? Naoko's maid tries to find him later to return the slide rule and thank him, but they never reconnect. Years pass. Jiro starts his career, and he becomes obsessed. And here's where the movie gets complicated, because Jiro, he's not a bad person. He's genuinely kind. He helps people. He cares about beauty and elegance in engineering, but he's also completely, utterly, obsessively consumed by his work. He joins Mitsubishi, starts designing planes, and becomes laser-focused on creating the most beautiful aircraft possible. He studies German engineering. He visits their factories. He sees how far ahead the Western world is. And there's this incredible scene where Jiro visits Germany and witnesses how they're preparing for war. He sees what's coming. He's not naive, but he keeps working. Because here's the thing the movie keeps asking. Is creating something beautiful worth it, if you know it will be used for destruction? Jiro's mentor Caproni appears again in his dreams and says something haunting. Would you rather live in a world with pyramids or without them? The pyramids were built by slaves. They represent human suffering. But they're also beautiful. They're monuments to human achievement. So what do you do? And look, I know what some of you are thinking. This is Miyazaki making excuses for Japanese imperialism. And that's a fair concern. We'll get to that controversy later. But I think the movie is asking a genuine philosophical question that doesn't have an easy answer. Can art be separated from its consequences? Can a creator be responsible for how their creation is used? Jiro just wants to make something beautiful, but he works for a military contractor and an empire gearing up for World War. There are no clean hands here, and the movie knows it. Okay, so let's talk about Nahoko, because this is where the movie absolutely wrecked me. Years after the earthquake, Jiro is at a mountain resort, taking a break from work, for like the first time ever, and who does he see? Nahoko, the girl from the train. Now a beautiful young woman, painting in the wind. And the way they recognize each other. Perfect. She's painting. The wind catches her parasol. It blows toward Jiro, and when he returns it, they just know. They remember. I never forgot you, she tells him. The man who saved us, and Jiro, who has spent the last decade caring about nothing but aerodynamics and wing designs, suddenly cares about something else. Someone else. They fall in love. It's gentle, sweet, and honestly realistic. They talk. They share dreams. He shows her his designs. She shows him her art. There are two people who understand what it means to be consumed by beauty. But Nahoko is sick. She has tuberculosis. In the 1930s, that was essentially a death sentence. And she knows it. She's been living at a sanatorium in the mountains, trying to get better. She's dying. And here's where the wind rises. Becomes one of the most emotionally complex love stories I've ever seen in animation. Jiro proposes anyway. Nahoko accepts. They get married in a beautiful, quiet ceremony, with almost no guests, just his boss, acting as the officiant, and a handful of close friends. And then she leaves the sanatorium against medical advice to be with him, while he's working. While he's trying to finish his masterpiece aircraft design. She lies in the room next door, coughing blood, deteriorating. And he keeps working. I'm not going to lie to you, this part of the movie makes me uncomfortable, because Jiro is so focused on his work that he's missing his wife's final months, and the movie doesn't let him off the hook entirely. There's this gut-wrenching scene where he's working late, and she reaches out her hand to him from behind the screen, just wanting him to hold it while she falls asleep. And he does. He holds her hand, while still working with the other. It's beautiful. It's devastating. It's the ultimate portrait of someone trying to balance love and obsession, and failing at both, while succeeding at neither. And then, the plane is finished. The Mitsubishi A5M, Jiro's masterpiece. The most advanced fighter aircraft Japan has ever produced. It's beautiful. It's fast. It's everything he dreamed of. The test flight was successful. His life's work, complete, and Nahoko leaves. She doesn't say goodbye. She packs her things, leaves a letter, and returns to the sanatorium, to die. Because she didn't want him to see her at the end. She didn't want his last memory of her to be of sickness and suffering. She wanted him to remember her as she was beautiful, loving, alive. And Jiro feels the wind change. He's at work, and suddenly he just knows. She's gone. The movie ends with another dream. Jiro is older now. The war has ended. Japan has lost. All his planes, every single one of the beautiful machines he created, never came back. They were used for kamikaze attacks. They were instruments of death, and Caproni is there. In a field of crashed planes. Wreckage everywhere. Did you use your 10 years well? Caprone asks. 10 years. The amount of time he was told he'd have to create, to dream. And then, Nahoko appears. One last time, in the wind. You must live, she says. Live, and she's gone. Okay, so let's talk about what this movie is really about. Because on the surface, it's a biography of an aircraft engineer. But underneath, The Wind Rises is about the price of dreams. Jiro achieved everything he set out to do. He created beautiful planes. He pushed the boundaries of engineering. He fell in love. He got married. And he lost everything. His planes were weapons. His wife died young. His country was destroyed by a war he helped enable. The title comes from a poem by Paul Valery. The wind rises. We must try to live. It's about perseverance, about continuing even when everything falls apart, about creating beauty even when you know the wind will tear it away. And here's where I think Miyazaki is being deeply personal, because this was announced as his final film. He was saying goodbye. And the question he seemed to be asking himself was my life's work worth it? I think The Wind Rises is a film about growing old and looking back at the compromises you made, the people you neglected, the consequences you didn't foresee. Jiro isn't a hero. He's not a villain. He's human, flawed, brilliant, selfish, loving. He's all of us, in a way. Anyone who ever chased a dream knows the cost. Now, I can't end this without addressing the controversy. The Wind Rises was attacked from both sides when it came out. Japanese nationalists hated it because it wasn't patriotic enough. It showed Japan as poor, struggling, making deals with Nazi Germany. Anti-war activists hated it because it seemed to celebrate a weapons designer without fully condemning the military-industrial complex. Miyazaki himself, who is a pacifist and has been critical of Japanese militarism his entire career, said in interviews that he struggled with this film. He understands the moral complexity. He's not excusing anything, but he's also saying, people are complicated, history is complicated, dreams are complicated, and I think that's why The Wind Rises endures. It doesn't give you easy answers. It doesn't tell you how to feel. It shows you a man, a dream, love, a tragedy, and it lets the wind carry it all away. So that's The Wind Rises. Miyazaki's beautiful, controversial, heartbreaking farewell that he then unretired from because apparently the man cannot stop making movies, which honestly, very Jiro of him. If you haven't watched this film, please do. And if you have watched it, let me know in the comments. What did you think? Is Jiro a hero? A villain? Just a guy who loved planes too much? Hit that subscribe button if you want more deep dives into anime masterpieces. And remember, The Wind Rises. You must try to live. I'll see you in the next one.